Welcome to episode 032 of the Bit Beacon broadcast. It's April 29th, 2024. Kodax is here, that's me.
Ravenheart, that's me.
Just the two of us today.
Yep.
So what you been doing? What you been buying? What you been playing?
Right, so I actually made a limited run purchase recently. I was going to talk about it last week, but didn't. I picked up Russian Subway Dogs on PS4. Alongside, is it Risky's Revenge for Game Boy Advance?
Oh, you got the GBA game? Okay.
That ended up coming out to like, after shipping and stuff, I think it was like $60 or $70.
So, yeah. So, I guess let's break off into a little tangent real quick.
Yeah.
So, the Shantae series has been around since the Game Boy Color days.
Yep.
In between the Shantae for Game Boy Color and the DSi Shantae game,
right,
there was going to be a Game Boy Advance Shantae game. But for whatever reason, their publisher pulled out. I think it was Capcom at the time who published the Game Boy Color game.
Yep. And
the game just kind of ended up on the back burner and never was fully finished and released. But apparently it was like 80% done.
Right.
Like it was really close to being done. There's just some things they had to figure out.
Right.
So fast forward to last year, Limited Run announces that they're basically helping fund development of this lost Game Boy Advance Shantae game with Way Forward.
Right.
And so pre-orders finally went live for actual Game Boy Advance compatible cartridges for this new lost Shantae game.
Yep.
And they were charging $59.99.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Game Boy Advance carts are not cheap.
No.
And
Way Forward has had a long running relationship with Limited Run. You know, they published two of their early PS4 games early on in Limited Run's lifespan.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that Limited Run would invest in
I think they're getting closer and closer in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So I picked that up.
That was a smart move because I guarantee you that Game Boy Advance game, especially the official release of it, is going to skyrocket in value once those start shipping.
All the Shantae games do that.
Yeah.
But we know about Shantae on Game Boy.
Yeah.
You know, just in general.
What's that, over $1,000 now? For
the loose Game Boy Color cartridge, last I checked, which was a couple of years ago, was $700.
For a loose Game Boy Color. I remember in 2014, you could still get a boxed copy for $300-some. Those days are gone.
That was expensive.
Yeah, that was expensive back then. But if you had invested in box Shantae Game Boy Color games in 2014, you'd probably be selling those for $2,000 each.
Right. I mean, published by Capcom, you would think there'd be more copies.
I think it was kind of late in the Game Boy Color's life. In fact, the Game Boy Color Shantae game, if you played it on a Game Boy Advance, there was some extra features exclusive to the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So it's one of those.
Yeah.
They did that with a lot of late Game Boy Color games.
But Russian Subway Dogs.
Yeah, so I picked up Russian Subway Dogs, and the reason that I decided I needed to do that was because we talked about this previously, but you and I privately.
Yeah.
Russian Subway Dogs was in that last group that we've mentioned before on this podcast of Vita titles. The last 12 that were coming out at that time, right at the date of the sunset.
Yeah.
And
they actually released.
They did release. Yeah. I think all of them released except Seraphim.
I don't know that. There were other games that didn't make it.
Okay.
You weren't the only one. I know that for a fact.
Oh, okay. I need to find out more about that.
Let's just say there's more that made it than didn't make it. So you're in,
a small group,
dignified company there.
Right. So Russian Subway Dogs was a game developed by Spooky Squid for the Vita. Came out way late, right at the cusp of the end of the Vita, and didn't have a physical release because we were way past that.
Yep.
At that point.
Production had ended.
Production had ended a year or two prior, so. Not two.
Yeah.
Like 1 year prior.
I think games had already been submitted to like
Yeah.
the factories in the months leading up to that point.
Some publishers did have carts on reserve but I think you had to get those ducks in a row like early too.
Yeah. You had to book them a long time in advance.
So Russian Subway Dogs never released physically on the Vita. So fast forward to now, they are releasing or have been. I don't know if pre-orders are still open.
Yeah, I think pre-orders are up until either this Friday.
Oh, okay.
May 3rd, I want to say. Or no, Sunday. They always end their pre-orders on Sunday, so it's May 5th.
Okay, got it. So I recommend you might do that because it is the only physical release.
Right. That game's ever received. Yeah.
I know it's on PC. I don't know if there was a physical release of that, but...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you mentioned getting it, I was like, you know what? It really is like... It is kind of a special game to the Vita community.
Yeah.
It was one that had been announced for years and years prior too.
It is one of those that was like in development for a long time.
Yeah, we had played it at like PSX, PlayStation Experience in like 2017 or something like that. Right. I want to say it was in Anaheim.
Yep.
And it didn't end up releasing until 2021 when all the Vita stuff was closing up.
Yep. Yeah, they were in the same rush.
Oh yeah, they were definitely. Yeah.
And I don't think Spooky Squid is a big team. I
want to say it's a boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife kind of duo.
Yeah, okay.
It's just like two people.
Yeah. So that makes total sense why the game would take that long.
Yeah.
Looking at the gameplay, like the art, it's 2D, but it's good quality, But yeah, anyways, so I picked that up mostly for posterity. I'll probably play it, of course. I'm not someone who tries to keep every game sealed and all that kind of stuff, But,
I don't try to keep it sealed. They just end up that way.
Right. I don't open it until I'm going to play it.
Right.
But I don't have any reservations about doing that.
If you want to play it, you open it.
Yeah, games are supposed to be played.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But
although occasionally I do look up something online.
Yeah, okay. That's just logical.
Because it's like, if I'm like, this thing was like a special edition or whatever, like, let me go look that up. Oh, it's worth $200? Okay, never mind. Let me go get another copy.
I can download it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I do that too, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Russian Subway Dogs coming. I'll talk about it more when I get it. And probably play it.
Shout out to Spooky Squid Games.
Yes.
Good job, guys.
100%.
You made it back then, and now look at you now. You're in a physical release.
Look at you now, going through limited run.
That's awesome.
Good job, guys. So yeah, I got those two things coming. What about you?
Have you been playing anything?
Oh, not really.
Not really? Okay.
Just Pokemon Go.
Yeah, I've been playing a bit of Pokemon Go too lately.
Mm-hmm.
Friend of the show, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Last week he comes up to me and he's like, he's been catching up to me.
Yeah.
So for the longest time out of our friend group, I have always been the level leader.
Yeah.
So to say.
Like, you're being tailed by me right now, by the way. You're probably 300,000 XP ahead of me. Or maybe 3 million ahead of me.
You've already hit the 44th threshold?
No, I'm like right at the end of 43.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'm right at the end of 44 now.
Okay.
Because
okay.
Yeah, okay, so let me explain. So for the last 2 years, or the last year and a half, or however long it's been, I have just been refusing to do the level 44 requirements, which have you do 30 wins in the different the different Go Battle League.
Oh, that's the end of 43.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I didn't do the 30 Ultra, Great, and Master tier things. I had worked on some of them last year, and I got the Ultra tier ones done, and I had some of the Great League ones done.
Mm-hmm.
But I have just been kind of like, whatever, I'll get around to it someday.
Right.
And so I've noticed that you and our friend Ben have been nipping at my heels a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like, you guys are going to hit 44 before me,
Yeah, right.
And I had already kind of accepted that, like, I just don't have it in me the same way you guys have it in you to play the game as hard as you do.
Yeah.
So I was, like, ready to just kind of give up the goose. But Ben comes up to me and he's like, hey, so, got my battles done. It's like I'm almost level 44.
Yeah.
And I can tell he's like
Yeah, he's
taunting me
got
or
that
like
smug.
yeah, like, "Oh, you haven't done those yet?
Yeah.
I did them."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "You know what?
Yeah.
SOB.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm going to do the next 3 or 4 days cuz you can only do 30 battles a day.
Yeah, which is weird.
And you have to win 30 times in each league. And like I said, I had about 15 more to do in Great, and then I had all the ones to do in Master League.
Yeah.
So over the course of 4 or 5 days, I just did my 30 battles every day and finally grinded them all out and hit level 44.
Good.
And
Good job.
I'm like 10.2 million XP already into the next level because I had neglected leveling up for so long.
Oh, that you built up.
It holds all that XP just waiting to like...
I'm so glad that they let XP carry over.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to have level requirements, don't...
Oh, no. If they wouldn't let me hoard my XP to carry over to the next level,
Yeah.
I would have done those battles a long time ago.
Because, yeah, all your XP is going in the garbage.
So now I'm only like 2.8 million XP away from level 45.
That's a couple lucky eggs.
Right,
at the right time.
I need to do 100 Team Go Rocket battles, 50 Go Rocket leader battles, and I have to purify 100 Shadow Pokemon.
Oh, man.
So I'll be lucky if by the time I have that 2.8 million XP that I'll have those done.
Yeah, you'll probably hit that threshold again.
Thankfully, I had a stock of like 28 rocket radars, so like at least I can do half the leaders pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, doing the goons will get you the
yeah, but you need 6 of them just to make 1 rocket radar.
I know. So I have never really cared about my level. I'm catching up to you, but not because I'm trying to compete. I really don't care.
You're just playing.
Yeah, it doesn't affect. Like,
after you hit level 40, there's like no gameplay bonus to being. You just unlock like costume effects and stuff.
Aren't the Pokemon higher CP as you level up?
I thought maybe that was true, and maybe it is to some. Maybe at like certain thresholds it is, but like I had a Togetic that was 100% maxed. Like I had used as many XL candies as I could possibly use to power it all the way up, and I still had XL candies left over.
Yeah.
So when I hit 44, I went to go check that Togetic, and it would not let me increase it anymore.
Interesting. Maybe it's every 5 levels or something.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I finally hit 44. That felt good to stick it to Ben.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I can get to 45. And beat him to 45 too now.
Okay.
We'll see though. He's gonna hear this and he's gonna be like, challenge accepted.
So I not caring about the levels so much. I do care about the medals.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at the level requirements as like contribution to getting some of these medals platinum. Like the rocket ones.
I just know it means a lot to him for whatever reason. So it's like I wanna like if I can just get him one more time. But I have a feeling after 45 he's just gonna surpass me. He's gonna blow past me.
Yeah.
Because he's averaging like 1 million XP a week right now. I feel like he's going really hard. So yeah, I just I can't do that.
Good luck, you guys.
Yeah.
May the best man win.
But okay, and then do you have anything more to say about Pokemon Go?
Yeah, one other thing.
Sure.
So one point of interest that might just be somewhat important for you, given your level requirements now with the rocket and stuff. So you know, and maybe you already know this, the medals pertaining to rocket, that's the purifier medal, and the one for beating grunts. The higher you get those levels, the more premier balls you get.
I am aware of that. Yeah, so, I have them both at like the silver.
Okay.
I think, which gives me like 9 balls, which is, in my experience, more than enough to catch a shadow Pokemon.
That's true.
I feel like they sometimes. Well, it used to be that the circle was always like really dark red, but they were still easy to catch as long as they didn't knock the ball away. It's like
they just did that for a visual effect.
Yeah, but now I notice the circle's not red anymore.
Right, that's true.
It's just like the normal color for that Pokemon.
Yeah. They also, I have the gold one for the grunts.
I believe you do.
I'm still silver with the purifier.
Okay.
I don't do that.
Yeah, the fact that I have to do 100 of them,
Yeah.
it sounds like horrible.
Yeah.
It's just like, what a waste of Stardust and...
They did a big update to Pokemon Go recently.
Visually.
Visually, yeah. So all the scenes...
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I like it.
So, okay, you've got 2 visual updates. You have the character visuals.
Well, 3 technically, but go ahead.
Okay, and then you have, like, the environment visuals.
Right.
Which includes, I guess, the overworld and the, like, in-catching scene.
Right.
Right?
So,
let's start with the characters.
Well, that's all 3.
Okay. Okay.
So
there was another one.
Yeah, the character one. So they added a bunch of settings, I guess, customizable settings. So there's a lot more options you can do with your character. You can make them heavy,
taller.
You can make them taller. You can make them muscular.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
I did play with that for a little while.
Rick's like this huge.
Yeah.
He looks like Cliff.
Not quite. I didn't go max on that stuff, but I did notice after that update, a bunch of my clothing were a different color.
Oh.
It was still the same items.
Yeah.
But you know how you can set the color on some things? They messed that up.
Okay, but what do you think of the changes? I feel like they've I don't know. I feel like the characters look extra hideous now.
Really?
I never felt that they were a very good representation of Yusuke Kozaki's character design stuff.
Yeah.
I always thought they looked kind of...
Are we talking about the player characters?
Yeah, the player character. Not the
NPCs.
the NPCs that are were really well defined, you know.
Right.
But the player character, they're based off of Kozaki's designs that he did for what the player characters could look like.
Right.
But the hair always looked bad, you know.
Yeah. Well, so my hope here with this visual update to the characters is that they did do away with a lot of graphical glitches that were happening in the game.
Yeah.
That photo we have or screenshot we have.
Oh yeah, where your head is
my head is just missing. Yeah. And so I'm not seeing that stuff as much anymore. And I think they did improvements.
Maybe there was did they fix the clipping of the clothing and holdables and stuff on your character?
From what I can tell, yeah.
Okay.
It looks way better.
All right.
I'm not saying it's perfect, but I don't think it's anywhere near.
I just mean I saw when the update went live, my character did not look anything like it did prior.
The skin color and stuff looked different.
I got so pale.
Yeah.
So incredibly pale.
So, you can change that, though.
Yeah, no, I did go through and mess with it a little bit. I think it's fine.
The character stuff, I like it. Could it be better? Probably.
Yeah.
The environment stuff...
That stuff is...
Yeah, so they have, when it's cloudy, you can see the shadows of the clouds moving on the ground.
Right.
They added a lot of, I guess, geometry to the map as well. There are trees and shrubs. Well, not trees, but... They're actual, geometry objects on the map. Some of that stuff I don't really care for, just because I see a bush and I think it's a Pokemon and I'm tapping on it and stuff.
Okay.
Because I see, a green lump.
Have they added anything new in the settings to, reduce, that kind of stuff?
I didn't really go through that too much. And then the biggest visual update, in my opinion, is every biome has a different background backdrop scene going on.
It reminds me kind of, during Go Fest, there's these special scenes for catching the mythical Pokemon.
Right.
They're on almost that level of detail, but now it's just capturing every Pokemon.
I can tell just as a Unity developer what tools they used to make that stuff.
Have you noticed at night if you catch a Pokemon, the Pokeball is dark? It's not bright white. There's a massive light on it.
Yeah. So everything's
there's
lit.
A lot of nice little details.
The Pokemon as well. They look way darker, which sometimes that makes it a little tricky to recognize. I think it's going to be shiny and then it's not.
Oh, you're
kind of thing.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh no.
But it's cool. It's cool. I love it. But yeah, we can move on from Pokemon Go now.
All right, I just want to talk about one recent purchase that showed up for me. We talked about this game maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think it was in February, when Yoshitaka Murayama died, the creator of Suidoken.
Yeah.
And his new game that he was in the in the final stages of wrapping up when he
Rest
passed
in
away.
peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. This is Aegon Chronicles 100 Heroes.
Yep.
It's finally released. As you can see, there's truly 100 heroes on the back.
They have like a whole panoramic like group shot of like.
That'd be a cool like poster.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, there's a shark person.
Oh jeez, that's cool.
So yeah, the game is out, it's still in its shrink wrap.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually gotten around to playing it.
Some ASMR for you guys.
Reviews I think launched last week. Yeah, and reviews are out, and they're mostly pretty positive.
Mm-hmm.
But as usual, when they're making a game that's in the style of like a game made in the 90s, and they're being like really faithful to that,
yeah,
it's not gonna sit well with everyone. Like there's intentionally like dated like mechanics in the game,
mm-hmm. Like difficulty type stuff.
Not so much difficulty, more like design choices, like the fact that you can't save anywhere. There's only like select save points.
Yeah, okay.
And just like they wanted to make something that felt like it was made in the 90s, so they were like true to that like mentality.
Right.
And the game has had some. I hear the Switch version runs very poorly.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking about Aegon Chronicles, probably don't buy it for the Switch unless you can tolerate like really juddery sub 30 FPS gameplay.
It's a 2D game, isn't it?
It's 2D, 3D.
Okay.
So it's a 3D game.
Okay.
But yeah, it has like a 2D look, but it's got 3D environments that you move around in. Cool. So yeah, it's out. It is something I am looking forward to hopefully one day playing.
Yeah.
So we'll see when I get there. I'm still playing Ys, Memories of Celceta for the Vita, and I've been making a lot of progress on that. I actually spent some time yesterday playing it on my Vita TV.
Oh, okay, cool.
Or I think they called it PlayStation TV in the US.
Yeah, PS TV.
So it doesn't, because it's a 3D Vita game, like it looks really pixelated on a bigger screen. I feel like the Vita TV is best for like 2D kind of like hand-drawn kind of looking games rather than something like... But it plays really well. And what's nice is that both my Vita and my PS TV are... what do you call it? I'm not hacked. Well, I mean, hacked. They are hacked.
Cracked?
Let's just call them hacked. They're like modded. They're modded. Okay. Soft modded, not hardware modded.
Right.
And so I can overclock them, so I can get the FPS up to like a stable 30, whereas normally it's like low 20s.
Okay.
So it's been fun to play around with that.
Gotcha. Cool.
So why don't we move on to what's coming up? We got a couple things. We got an event this weekend.
Yep.
Small event. But this weekend, Rick and I will be at Gallery Nucleus to go to the Clock Tower event. So for those of you that don't know, Clock Tower, the original Super Famicom game, released in 1995. It's a point-and-click survival horror game, and it was never released in the US, but it kind of got like critical acclaim over here through fan translations and sequels that did eventually come to the West.
Clock Tower 2 was like, I played that game, and I still remember moments of it.
And so Way Forward and Limited Run are bringing Clock Tower to the West, the Super Famicom version, along with some like extras wrapped around the game. They're not making any like adjustments to the game, is my understanding. It's still going to be, the original game, but there's some optional extras like behind the scenes kind of stuff, galleries and things like that.
Right.
And the lead designer of the new Clock Tower remake, or not remake, sorry, it's called Clock Tower Rewind, is like the name they're giving the package.
Right.
Her name is Mariel Kaneko Cartwright, and she's having like sort of a gallery alongside this event at the same time.
Yeah.
She's made some new original artworks for Clock Tower, and she'll be displaying some of her own designs and things like that as well. And then there's going to be a panel with her and someone else from Way Forward, Adam Tierney. and they'll talk about the game, show us behind the scene footage. We haven't like really seen any new information on the game in a while, so I imagine this will kind of be their opportunity to debut that, and then I'm sure stuff will be online like probably the next day or so.
Yep.
And I apologize for the kids in the background if you can hear them.
Oh yeah.
Nothing we can really do about it. We're gonna be there this weekend, and then a while back, I think it was in February as well.
Yeah.
We talked about IGN Live, this new live show.
Right. This was what we were talking about, rivaling Jeff Keighley's Summerfest or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know about rivaling it, but sort of
you know what
competing.
I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in E3's absence, different people are throwing their hat in the ring to try to do something in
Fill
June.
that void.
And in LA during that kind of general time period.
Right.
So IGN Live IGN announced in February that they were going to be doing like some kind of a special show, like a multi-day like exhibit kind of style show.
Yeah.
And tickets just went on sale I think a week or two ago, but I just am now hearing about it. So the official dates are June 7th to 9th. That's a Friday to a Sunday, which is different. E3 normally was Tuesday to Thursday. And it's taking place in downtown LA at the Magic Box venue, which I had never been to before.
I've never heard of that.
It's not far from where the usual E3 action is.
Okay.
You got to go a couple blocks up the street, kind of a thing.
Gotcha.
But it's a relatively new venue. Passes for all 3 days are just $60.
Yeah.
And they're calling these passes VIP passes, and it gets you a t-shirt, a baseball cap, 3-day access, priority entry and seating at all of the panels and like live shows that they're doing. And you can also get individual day passes for just $25. So if you just want to go Friday, you can just spend $25.
Right.
But I feel like if you're going to go 2 days, the $60 VIP pass doesn't sound that bad of a deal.
Right.
And if you're going to go all 3 days, then it's a no-brainer.
Plus the swag, kind of.
Yeah, the swag. I mean, it's IGN swag.
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad deal.
Right.
And the priority seating, that might get you in like primo position to get a signature,
right.
Something like that.
I mean, if they're calling them VIP passes, hopefully that's for some reason.
And so far, there's not been very many notable publishers in attendance, but the two that I did notice that were pretty notable are Square Enix and Bandai Namco.
My two favorites.
Yeah, I mean, they're up there for sure. But no sign of the big three. No Nintendo, no Microsoft, no Sony.
Right.
And they say there are more announcements to come. But so it'll be interesting. I wonder if some people have maybe thrown their hat in the ring, like with Jeff. And Jeff's like, you can't do anything with them.
Yeah, that would kind of stink if the competitiveness between the two gets to the point where there's like, exclusivity and non-compete stuff. That's just going to rob everyone from...
So if you look at the dates here, the 7th to the 9th, that makes me think that Games Fest is going to be like the next week right after that.
Yeah.
Maybe some developers have already signed on with one and not the other. Even though, as far as we're aware, Summer Games Fest is not going to really have an in-person like people component so much,
What?
Summer Games Fest is basically it's like the Game Awards, so there's like a theater where they do like an announcement show.
Oh, okay. So it's more of a show than like a convention or something.
Yeah, they did have a physical area last year, but it was only for press and influencers.
So like a show floor that was exclusive for certain people?
For press and influencers.
Gotcha.
So like general public had no way of getting in, but the IGN is opening up a path for general public to come to this event.
Yeah.
Seems to be the foot, like they want to have like a sort of E3 like, experience.
Right.
So my question is, back then we said we'd go. What are we thinking?
Yeah, let's go.
I mean, $60 seems like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That'll be fun. We have some reporting.
We gotta figure out what's going on with Games Fest, though.
Summer Games Fest?
Yeah.
So last year they had the big live show at the YouTube Theater in Inglewood,
Mm-hmm.
and that you could like pay to get into it. I don't know if they're doing that again this year.
Okay.
And then what's funny is the people who do the seat fillers for the Game Awards,
Mm-hmm.
like last minute, like the day before.
That's Eventbrite, isn't it?
No, it's well, I mean, Eventbrite is just where the tickets are
Oh,
distributed.
right. Okay.
But it's Gotham Casting.
That's right. Yeah.
Gotham Casting like sent out an email, hey, we got free tickets to go to the thing.
Oh shoot.
And I almost went, but like parking was like $35 there, and I was like, to sit there and watch trailers, I ain't paying $35.
Is that what it is? It's just a bunch of ads?
Summer Games Fest, the announcement show portion of it, yes, is basically just watching trailers.
Like world premieres.
World premieres, and then some developers do get up on stage and talk about the game and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, largely it's just...
I would go to that just to experience it and see what's up.
Yeah.
And then if it ends up being just the Game Awards without the awards...
I think that's really what it is.
Oh,
and like generally the announcements are of a kind of a lower
priority.
Caliber. Like, I mean, like they're not as like big of a deal as they are during the Game Awards.
Okay.
It's kind of like a step below that. So,
Gotcha.
there's no earth-shattering announcements happening at Summer Games Fest typically.
Interesting. I didn't realize it was that. I thought it was more of like a fair kind of thing, or
No.
kind of like Indiecade or something.
I mean, like, it would, if you opened up that physical space to people or to like industry somehow, if it got bigger and you could do that, then yeah, it would sort of be more like that.
Yeah.
But right now it's totally locked down to just whoever Jeff wants to be there.
Yeah.
You know?
Crazy. Okay. Anyways, yeah, IGN Live. Yeah, well, we should go to that.
Okay.
I don't see why we wouldn't.
Because we're talking like it's a month from now, basically. A month and a week.
Right.
So I mean, it's pretty quick.
That's plenty of time.
But it'll be here before we know it.
Right.
Okay. So now we have our first. Oh no, I'm sorry. We have to get into our Seraphim Weekly update.
Oh yeah. So I don't really have a Seraphim update. I didn't really touch Seraphim very much this week. I spent quite a bit of time doing some Unity tutorials.
Okay.
Just learning new skills.
Just trying to learn.
Yeah, I need to keep that up.
Okay.
When that never really went away. I've always been, doing exercises and stuff like that.
So do these tutorials, do they give you like a package to download and like open up?
Some do.
Okay.
Some are just on YouTube that some person made up, like a project. This week I built a auto-scrolling scroll view list in Unity to 2D, just to learn how to do that. I also built a date time display.
Okay.
And learned, I think it's system.datetime.now is how you actually pull the date and the time. And then the formatting, lowercase h is AM, PM, and then capital H is military.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's so there's a formatting string for the date time class or method, and you can format how it displays and stuff with letters.
Okay.
So yeah, just learning new code,
Okay.
new methods and stuff I'm not familiar with.
Right.
Just because working on the same project is only going to expose you to what that project
what's going on in that project, yeah.
So I can't just be a lump.
No.
I got to be a real game designer,
That's
game
right.
developer. So
That's what Kojima's doing.
Yeah.
Visionary game designer.
Visionary. In addition to doing Unity tutorials, I also still do a lot of 3D modeling, unrelated.
Just for...
Yeah, exercise.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's a skill.
Right.
If you use it or lose it.
Yep.
Just same with drawing and painting.
So just brushing up on, the essentials this week and your skills. Using your tools.
Learning new methods and stuff in code that will be useful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I'll do something someday that requires a date time display, so just good stuff to know.
Rick's version of Animal Crossing coming soon.
Yeah, right. Right. That'd be crazy.
Okay, so Seraphim update was pretty quick this week.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we jump into our first story?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay. So we recently spoke about the remake of Dead Space a couple episodes ago.
Yes.
The remake came out in early 2023, and internally the game did not meet Electronic Arts' sales expectations, so EA effectively shelved the Dead Space IP again.
Yes.
Motive Studio, the studio behind the remake, we know is confirmed to not be working on another Dead Space game.
Yep, we talked about that last week.
So Dead Space is, it's on ice again or whatever.
Right.
So one reason why Dead Space maybe didn't sell up to expectations was because the game was denied a release in Japan. The Computer Entertainment Rating Organization, known as CERO in Japan, CERO.
Which is Japan's equivalent of the ESRB.
Yes. Denied it even the highest tier of age rating that they offer, and instead asked EA to alter or censor the gore and dismemberment in the game in order to obtain approval to be sold in Japan.
Yep.
So EA refused. They didn't do it. They didn't budge.
Which, I mean, respect to EA.
Respect. Maybe, what do they call it? A two-sided coin?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe if they had bent thy knee to the Japanese government.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not worth another Dead Space game?
I mean, yeah, but not like that. That's not how
like
that needs to happen.
Well, again, I'm not criticizing them. They stood by the studio's artistic choices.
EA could so easily, as the publisher, with the money on the line, be like, okay, yeah, they need to do that.
Right.
But yeah, to actually say, no, this is the artist's vision, and we're sticking with it.
Well, we don't know if they said that's the artist's vision. Maybe.
I'm not quoting them.
If we're gonna be more cynical, though. Maybe they weighed historical sales of Dead Space in Japan.
Yeah.
And said, okay, they're pretty bad. I don't know what they are, but maybe they're pretty bad. And they're like, it's not worth the development effort, the money.
To censor?
Yeah, it would cost more to censor it than it would be to just not sell the game.
That's possible. Either way, we have the same outcome.
Yeah, either way.
Of the vision being intact.
Yeah, they wanted to release the game in Japan. Japan said no.
Yeah.
And EA said, oh well, we're not doing it.
Right.
But there's someone at EA who that didn't sit well with them.
Yeah.
Now this year, a year later, Stellar Blade, which is developed by Korean developer Shift Up and published by PlayStation themselves, has received a CERO D rating, the second highest rating they can give. Only the CERO Z rating goes a step further. Now, before we continue on with the story, I want to describe I want to share with you how the ESRB describes Stellar Blade. The ESRB, as Rick said, is the
North American
equivalent, rating board. Players use blades, machine guns, and laser blasters to kill enemies. Battles are fast-paced, highlighted by sword slashes, large explosions, and realistic gunfire. Blood splatter effects occur frequently as enemy creatures are slashed and dismembered. Some cutscenes and battle sequences depict close-up images of impalement, dismemberment, and decapitation. The game depicts some female characters in revealing costumes, deep cleavage, skin-tight flesh-toned bodysuits, with breasts that jiggle during combat. So, did you notice the part about the impalements, dismemberments, and decapitations?
Yeah.
The very thing that...
No, we'll get there.
Okay. So did Electronic Arts Japanese General Manager Sean Noguchi.
Yeah.
The guy who a year ago was denied a release of his game in Japan.
Right. The Dead Space remake.
Now, Sean hasn't let go that the Dead Space remake was denied releasing in Japan. But Noguchi called attention on his Twitter account about the fact that you can see exposed bone in the dismembered pieces of human characters in Stellar Blade, something that not even Dead Space did. Noguchi then goes on to clarify that he means no ill will to Stellar Blade, and encourages interested players to buy and enjoy the game after having played and enjoyed the demo himself. But he's left wondering, how is it that Stellar Blade gets away with similar dismemberment of monsters and people and
Right.
exposed bone and blood and gore with zero censorship being required.
Right.
And they didn't even get a Sero Z, they got a Sero D.
Right.
So why did they get away with it and an American company, an American developer, EA, doesn't get their game with similar elements completely denied?
So there's a lot of different angles to take on this story.
Sure.
Let's
unpack it.
Are we done?
Yeah, let's unpack it.
All right. So, I'm gonna go through 3 different angles here.
Okay.
Okay. The first angle being Dead Space and Stellar Blade are equivalent in terms of content, and this is just sums up.
Okay.
There's some favoritism going on.
Yeah.
Another angle is we know how old guard Japanese companies can be.
Sure.
Or not that Zero is a company,
Yeah.
but you get what I'm saying. They're an organization. This could be Japan trying to just being, I don't know what you call it.
I mean, Dead Space has a very American feel to it.
Yeah.
It's a Western game.
It is a Western game.
Whereas Stellar Blade has a very Asian spin on things.
It's Korean, but it's still Asian and feels Asian. Yeah, exactly. This could be a Japanese organization kind of gatekeeping a Western product.
Yeah.
And letting an Asian product through easier. Or there's my third angle, which is kind of the one that I feel.
Okay.
I don't know if you've played Dead Space. Have you?
I've played demos in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, on PS3.
Despite this description given by the ESRB and stuff of Stellar Blade, I still would say that Dead Space, it probably doesn't touch Dead Space.
Okay.
You have creatures and stuff that are mutilated and mutated, and it's a survival horror game.
Okay.
In a space station with experiments and stuff running around, people who are dead walking, with controlled by parasites and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's a very.
But Stellar Blade has exposed bone.
Yeah, so does Mortal Kombat and stuff like that.
Mortal Kombat doesn't release in Japan either.
Yeah, that's true. But which is crazy.
Yeah, isn't it?
But I mean,
games like
you're talking about content, but I do think that they are taking context. So, I think ESRB and Zero both take context.
So is because Dead Space is scary, whereas Stellar Blade is more action?
It's scary in a graphical way.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen stuff in Stellar Blade, the monsters are weird and creepy and scary looking.
Yeah.
And, there's brutal deaths and things that happen.
Yeah.
I haven't played Stellar Blade. I haven't either. I haven't played, now let's just be clear here.
Quick side note.
Yeah.
I noticed, the source over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. They have they have a big video display up, billboard thing. They were advertising something with Stellar Blade.
Oh, really? Probably just promoting.
Well, they have a VR center in there.
Oh, okay.
And I was gonna go check it out, but I don't know if you're interested.
I was just there this weekend, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I go to the source.
Did you see anything
saw nothing Stellar Blade anywhere.
Okay. Interesting.
I know they have the big digital billboard. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, across the street.
Yeah. So what I think happens is that they just rent out the billboard.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there was a Stellar Blade event.
It looked like it was talking about some kind of expo or something like that.
It launched.
Yeah.
So maybe it had the date of the.
Well, like I say, they have a VR lab center thing there.
I've seen the VR lab thing. It's just they bought a bunch of sets.
Yeah.
And, and they just let people pay $20 to experience VR or whatever.
Gotcha. Anyways, yeah. So I do think that they are taking the context of content into consideration.
Okay. I mean, it could be a mixture of that and the favoritism.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. The Japanese.
I mean, you have Sony behind one of them.
Yeah,
I mean,
you have Sony.
It's a Korean development, but Sony is.
Yeah, Sony published it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's Japanese.
Yeah. And then, I mean, it also has certain things in Stellar Blade that appeal to an audience in a great way.
Well,
Like the visual design of the character and the costumes
like
and things like that.
being Asian.
No, like the sexualization
Okay.
aspect of the game.
Well,
I do wonder if like maybe Isaac from Dead Space was a chick and like wearing a skin tight outfit. If
I don't think so.
yeah, you
I don't think that's
that
a
would have had
factor
an
at all.
impact at all.
No.
I mean, they love those kinds of games though in Japan.
That's true, but I don't.
And I wonder if it's like, oh, this game is going to make money. So
Right.
it's like we don't want to like deny taxes.
Well, yeah,
to
but I mean, does Zero care?
I mean, it's some kind of government regulatory body, so
So they're thinking like 4D chess. This is gonna
dude, if I'm thinking,
make revenue, which is gonna lead to more taxes. So we need to.
I mean, if I'm thinking 4D chess, I mean, these guys are paid.
I
to
think
sit
you're
around and do
thinking
that.
like I think you're thinking way out there, dude.
All right. Well, I don't know. I just like the thought of Isaac in like a skin tight outfit.
All right, well,
like,
go hire a hentai artist online. They're everywhere. They're all over DeviantArt. You can pay them.
he's got his curves all accentuated.
You can pay an artist $150.
I'm
They'll-
sure there's
they'll do a
already art out
rendition
there.
for you.
I'll just go Google it.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Isaac and Samus.
They are pretty similar, and I really kind of do enjoy that.
Yeah.
That kind of parallel.
Yeah.
Metroid isn't necessarily horror, but some of the installments come close, like
Yeah.
Metroid Dread and stuff.
Yeah, Fusion too.
Yeah, Fusion. Yeah, he is kind of like the male Samus
Yeah.
in a way.
So I don't know. Jury's out. What happened here?
Yeah.
I do wonder if like
Well,
Sarah getting called out will like
Right,
make
right.
them reconsider.
I mean,
or-
so, okay, let's talk about the ramifications and results of this whole
Sure.
story. So, yeah, Ciro's taken some heat.
yeah,
Sean from EA put him on blast. You know you have the gaming audience in full swing, I'm sure,
Yeah.
agreeing with one side or the other. Probably Sean. You know, probably like 100% leaning towards Sean.
yeah. I mean, I don't know who really cares other than like who does it actually affect? Japanese gamers, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, do Japanese gamers care about Dead Space enough to like care about what Sean Noguchi is pointing out?
Yeah, but you have Western gamers who just care about games.
Yeah.
And will, jump
Sure.
on this just for the sake of games.
Because basically the Japanese government censored EA
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah,
and
100%.
said- Or Sarah censored them.
I don't believe in censorship. I don't. So
Right.
I want games to, like, they could even have more content than they do now. And I would still want them to exist.
Yeah.
Just for an adult audience and the right demographic of people to buy and play them.
Yeah.
We have DVDs that have all kinds of higher content.
I know
and games.
in Japan, Capcom Resident Evil games have like the blood and gore toned down compared to like the Western release that comes
That
elsewhere.
especially happens with mainstream China releases.
Oh yeah, you can't have blood.
You can't have
exposed
can't
bone.
have a skull.
Yeah, you
You
can't
can't have a
expose
skull.
bone. Period.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I remember a long time
And
ago.
that's like, includes like a cartoon skull.
Yeah. When World of Warcraft released in China, like we're talking like 2009 or something
That had
like
to
that.
be a freaking project for Blizzard to put it
Yeah,
through.
because there's a whole race
Mhm.
of like playable characters, the undead,
The undead, yeah.
who have exposed bone,
Yeah.
like where
That
all their
whole
joints
race just
are.
gets cut.
No, they ended up just like adding flesh over
Okay.
like everything.
Oh wow! So they went through the labor of like redesigning them.
But there's like skeletal horses and
Yeah,
you
right.
know, all kinds of things.
That's such a weird rule. You have bones in your body.
So we're just gonna pretend bones
Don't exist,
because
right.
it might make someone sad
It does make
to
sense.
think about how they might be dead one day.
That person has no business playing games.
Yeah, that always that's weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is really weird.
So, we have a PR kind of ramification happening here where I think Zero's taking some heat. We have whoever else in Japan, like, probably looking at them. And they're probably looking at themselves like, regardless of how they feel, whether they're in the right or the wrong,
Yeah.
they probably are like, we need do some reform over here
Yeah.
with this kind of thing.
I mean, I hope so. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah, it's very
Like,
ridiculous.
Even the adults only, which is the Zero Z rating,
Yeah.
they wouldn't give it to Dead Space. Like, that's insane.
wild. That's wild.
Like, you're talking about adults that are capable of deciding whether blood and gore are too much for them.
So, tangent, the ESRB in North America has only ever given one title an AO rating.
Yeah.
That was not for sexual content.
Okay.
And that game is Hatred.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, I mean, that, when we talk about context, that is a very, like, wicked thing. Like, that would never come out in Japan.
Let's talk about Hatred real quick.
Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you're basically like a shooter that just goes around, like, killing...
It's a top-down... like spree shooter, kind of thing, kind of like Postal a little bit, but unlike Postal, where the character has an actual, albeit diluted, motivation, this is sadism.
Okay,
the hatred is literally, like, its whole thing is
right. It's like, haha, we're gonna go kill people today.
You have to kill people to, like, restore your health. Like, you have to, like, do, like, these kills and stuff. And yeah, it's a spree shooter.
So AO games in America, there's only ever been a handful.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But they're like not allowed to be, like, carried in stores.
Oh, well, all major consoles don't allow them.
Yeah.
So you'll never have an AO on a console.
Right. So it's only, like, PC, which don't even need to get a traditional ESRB rating.
There's really
anyways.
no requirement. Maybe retailers require it.
The ESRB was created effectively to give parents at stores a general guide of, like, oh, what is this game?
Right.
You know, like, is this appropriate? It's T for teen. Well, my kid's 11, so they don't get to play that one yet.
Right. And I firmly believe that context gets taken into consideration, because you have games like Manhunt and Manhunt 2 that did not get an AO rating. And those games are, like... But those games are also, like, I think the message in them is... It is twistedly more positive than Hatred. Those games, you are like a death row killer person, inmate, who gets put on this show where you have to, like, go and kill
your way
other
out of it.
criminals and stuff. Yeah. So it's more justifiable than, like, Hatred just being a sadistic shooter.
Yeah.
Like, active shooter. So where I'm going with this is relating it back to this situation with Zero and gore and stuff like that. That gets an AO rating. That to me is, like, the standard, because it's the only example of a game for anything other than sexual content getting that rating. And if Dead Space is worse than that, which is what they're saying, that's crazy. Like, that's wild. Anyways, that's all.
All right.
So before we move on to our next story, we're going to talk about our shirts that we're wearing. How do you want to do it? Do you want to talk about mine?
Sure, let's talk about yours first. Right. Rick is wearing a black shirt, a t-shirt, short-sleeved. It's a Super Mario branded shirt. It's got I'm not sure if it's distressed or if Rick has worn it and washed it hundreds of times.
Yeah,
okay.
No way.
So it has Mario, Luigi, Wario, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Princess Peach, and Bowser. Cartoon kind of style looking. They're all just standing there kind of next to each other. They almost look like they were sort of superimposed, like... It's kind of a weird... Like, what is Wario doing there?
He's got his fist up. He's doing that.
No, I know. Okay, well, we'll get into this in a second. And then behind all the characters, there's like a I don't know, Lion King looking sunrise in the background, sunset.
I see what
It's got like this like savannah, like orange and yellow kind of thing rising in the background behind them. Looks very Lion King. Okay, so this is a Super Mario shirt, right?
Yep.
And this is where you're probably gonna disagree with me.
Sure.
I feel that Wario and even Donkey Kong.
I agree. Donkey Kong shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I feel like they're very much so their own independent things.
Wario is definitely Super Mario Brothers. Donkey Kong came around before Mario Brothers.
That's true.
It was even existed.
Right, and that's Donkey Kong
So
Country.
really, this
Donkey
should
Kong.
say Donkey Kong. If we're being like real with.
Yeah, and that's not even like OG Donkey Kong.
Right.
That's Donkey Kong Country Donkey
Right.
Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like I don't know, Wario, he's rarely involved in the Super Mario games.
His first appearance was in Super Mario Land 2 on Game Boy.
Yes.
So he definitely comes out of Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, he does.
He's Mario's twin, dude. He's
Not
Mario's
actual
evil twin. His evil twin.
He's like his fat doppelganger.
Yeah, he's my favorite character.
I know you love Wario.
Yeah.
Wario. I don't know. Like, I feel like he is very much so his own things. Like, you don't ever see Mario characters in, like, Wario games.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Okay, so, like, in Wario games, they have their whole crazy cast of characters.
Yeah.
Are those Mario characters?
Well,
or are they Wario characters?
I mean, if you're just looking at WarioWare, sure. But that's not all there is to Wario.
I know, but it's like...
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
He's taken on a life. I feel that way about Yoshi, but I also know that Yoshi's got way bigger presence in Mario games.
Oh, yeah. Like, still in Super Mario Wonder,
Yeah.
Yoshi is there,
Right.
you know?
Um,
Wario, nowhere to be seen.
You do see Wario, I feel like, in some... isn't he in one of the Luigi's mansions? Or no?
No. The last time I remember Wario being in a proper Mario game was the DS remake of Super Mario 64.
Okay.
You could play as Wario in that
that's
game.
true.
I can't remember an instance of him appearing in a proper Mario
He does.
game since.
I really do wish they would kind of include him more.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Yeah.
Like, if he was actually... I mean, okay, you have Mario Party, of course.
Yeah, right.
It's always going to show up in Mario
And
Party.
Mario Kart.
And Mario Kart. Definitely. He belongs there.
Yeah.
You know, I agree.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know why they just choose... Oh, sports games,
Yeah, the
too.
sports games, too.
Yeah. But for whatever reason, when it comes to, like, the main core Mario games...
I mean, yeah, but regardless of what you're going to say about main core and all this... stuff you made up, really, that doesn't really, like... They're...
Well, the core Mario games are made by a specific
Mario
team.
Tennis is a Mario game.
Okay, the core... There's a specific team at Nintendo, first-party team, that makes, like, the main series Mario games, right?
Right.
Okay, they don't ever put Wario in their games, ever.
So he's in some and not others.
Right, he's in the spin-offs, but not the, the
Right.
core, I don't know, I'm not saying he shouldn't be in those games. I'm
Right.
saying it'd be nice if they kind of brought him back in somehow.
Right.
Like, let's give Bowser a break.
Yeah.
Let's let Wario be the villain.
100%. Thank you. Yeah, like, he's a villain.
Yeah.
We don't need Bowser all the time. Like,
I mean, or have them team up. I don't know, anything.
yeah. Like, even like the new Super Mario Brothers and stuff like that. He could be the villain.
Yeah.
But they don't do that. So another thing about the shirt before we move on.
Still has the tag on it.
Yeah, have the documentation.
Okay.
You can take a look at that.
Okay, so the tag, one of them is a Kohl's tag. The item number is 0591014. The group is classic, the color is black, and the size is large.
There we go.
The barcode number, if you want it, 1934786899607.
Riveting.
And then there's a Super Mario mushroom tag, and on the back it says Super Mario, official Nintendo licensed product, copyright 2021, and produced by Fifth Sun.
There you go. That's all that matters.
Okay, so Fifth Sun, maybe that's why there's a sun rising in the background.
Possibly, yeah.
Oh, whoa, I have an even bigger theory. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines to that sun.
Yeah.
Hence the 5th sun.
Oh, okay.
So you see there's a line there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a line there. There's a line there. There's a line there. And there's a line there. The sun is broken up into 5 pieces.
There we go.
That is some deep 5th sun lore right there.
There we go. Yeah, so you might be right about that.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever dissected a shirt so
not
hardcore
quite like
before.
this. Yeah.
You brought a good one.
Yeah. All right, I'm starting to run out. I need to go tap into my box.
Go tap into your box.
So let's talk about yours.
Okay.
Taylor is wearing. I have no idea. He's gonna have to enlighten us.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to explain this one.
So it's a black T-shirt.
Yes.
Crew neck, short sleeve. It says in white text WD _ return, and then bold black, and that's it.
There's like a rainbow line.
There's a little rainbow colored line underneath all that. It's like a gradient from pink.
So what business in Irvine have you seen off the freeway that has the initials of WD?
The only one in Irvine that I know is Blizzard.
WD?
Well, no.
Western
obviously.
Digital.
Oh, shoot. That's a Western Digital shirt.
This is a Western Digital t-shirt. And specifically, so Western Digital, for those of you who don't know, they make storage for computers and products and different things like that.
Yeah.
So Western WD Black is their specific line of SSD hard drives that are built for gaming.
Right.
So at Evo, I think it was last year or maybe the year prior, they were there on the show floor of Evo and they were throwing out shirts and stuff.
Oh, cool.
So I got a WD Black shirt.
That is a cool shirt.
Yeah.
Personal story, when I worked at my former employer,
yes,
was right next door to Western Digital. So
right.
I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
But I used to go and eat at their little, they had a whole cafe thing going on.
Just for them?
It's like a whole restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we were allowed to go over there
and
eat on their...
Because you were corporate neighbors?
Yeah.
Nice.
Eat on their campus and talk, mosey with them a little bit. I wouldn't mind working for them someday.
Yeah. The guys at Blizzard, the original founding members of Blizzard, they all worked at Western Digital together.
Yeah.
And then they
makes sense.
Spun off and
that makes sense.
Made Blizzard.
Cool
little background story for y'all. All right, so we've got 2 more news topics.
We do.
We're going to jump into this next one. So Flaming Fowl Studios, known for games such as Fable Fortune and Gloomhaven, just released a demo for their upcoming game, Ironmarked. So normally that's not enough to get us talking about you on the podcast.
Right.
So we're going to have to
New
give
games
a little
coming out
more,
all the time.
Little information, let alone a demo.
Right.
But so at the same time that they released this demo, they announced that development on the game would end until further notice, effectively.
Yep.
And that 2/3 of the staff will be let go from the studio.
This was the same day of their demo launch.
Yeah, so they launched their demo. They announced that the game is halted and that they're laying off 21 of their 30 staff members.
Yes, so they
now
have 9 people left.
9 people. So they announced all this in the following statement. Today we are releasing a demo of Ironmarked, a new game we have been working on recently. Unfortunately, due to the current lack of funding in the games industry, we are putting production on hold and have had to downsize the studio, letting go of some amazing people. Although this is a difficult and sad time for everyone involved, we are very proud of what we were creating and want to share that with all of you. We also hope that by releasing this demo, we can help those people leaving us to secure new roles elsewhere by demonstrating their outstanding work on the project. Hopefully with enough wish lists on Steam, we'll be able to find funding in the future for Ironmarked, but until then, we will be working on a smaller game that we can fully fund ourselves. Okay, before we discuss it further, let's hear from Flaming Fowl's CEO, Craig Oman, who told VGC, this Video Game Chronicle, I believe, in an interview that layoffs and shelving of the game are due to their publisher pulling out of an agreement last summer. So Ironmarked was gonna get made, it had funding, and then whoever was working on it said, nope, we're yoinking our money.
Whoever was publishing
it, yoink their investment out of them, or stop sending them the checks to work on the game.
Right.
And now, for the last few months, they've been just kind of self-funding it.
Yeah, they've probably been floundering and trying, scrambling to find a new publisher, if I had to guess.
And it turns out you're exactly right. They have approached more than 30 other publishers, and they've been looking to find someone else to fund the game for the studio, but nobody is interested in a mid-tier size game. And
that's in quotes.
That's in quotes. Ironmarked was originally targeting a $5 million budget to develop the game. So they had someone who signed on to supply that $5 million to get the game made.
There's a lot, just that little bit right there, there's a lot for us to discuss, I feel like.
Yeah, so $5 million, that's basically, that's just to make the game. That means that's funding 30 people's livelihoods for however many years it takes to make that game.
Right. And also probably including the marketing budget and stuff like that.
Marketing, paying rent on whatever building that they're in.
Utility.
If they're in so unpack it a little bit. You said there's enough to discuss here.
So what stands out to me a lot is this complaint about it being a mid-tier sized game. What does that mean for AA games in general? There's no appetite among publishers for, because we've talked in other stories and other episodes about I can't remember, what was the company that said that? Oh, it was Square Enix. They said we're going to focus on indie and we're going to focus on big ones,
right,
and cut out the middle guy.
Yeah.
So that plus this is indicative to me that quote unquote mid-tier size games are
on the way out,
or that there's just not a market appetite among publishers for them.
The only reason I can think publishers wouldn't want them is if they feel that consumers don't want them.
Right.
So
That's
I guess
true.
Maybe there have been enough mid-size games that have sort of been floundering, just being released and then nothing happening with them.
Yeah.
That publishers are well, we need to stop funding that because we get no return on that investment.
Just quickly, what do you think is the reason for the lack of interest in mid-tier?
I enjoy mid-tier games.
Same.
In fact, a lot of times I find them more enjoyable than a lot of really AAA, quadruple A kinds of games. Right. I feel like there's different kinds of gamers, right?
Yeah.
I think the really core gamer is probably just playing those big AAA releases. They just go 1 month, they just jump from AAA to AAA to AAA to AAA.
Yeah.
And that's all they're really interested in. And then you have gamers who don't find themselves with not a lot of time, so they end up playing a lot of indie or small studio kinds of games.
Yeah.
Something that they can just put an hour or two into it every few days or whatever.
Right.
And that's where kind of the small scale indie games come along, and that's where people can feel oh, hey, I beat a game. It's only 10 hours long, but I never beat games unless I play a small game.
There's still a sense of completion to be had.
Right. Whereas a lot of times, a AA or a mid-tier size game can sometimes have the ambition of a AAA game, but the execution, for a variety of reasons, due to the talent and experience, as well as the money and time on hand to actually make the project complete,
right,
can be a lot less than what AAA studios can afford to do.
Right.
So I think the AA studio kind of has big ideas, but they have to be scaled back, and sometimes vision has to get compromised in order to get a game out.
I don't know that it happens that way. Maybe they do plan for it to be mid-sized, but they want the look and feel of a AAA.
Right. Yeah,
but I think it's more planned. I don't think they're just, we can't do it.
No, I think you're right, but it's I think maybe it starts out with big ideas, and then they realize they have to cut things. Okay, we can't sit on a game for 7 years like Zelda did, or what Nintendo did with the new Zelda game from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom.
Right.
And that game was in development for 6-7 years probably.
Right.
Whereas they probably have 2 years to get their next game out before the money dries up. You know.
Right.
And then sometimes the money starts drying up, and they have no choice but to like pull the emergency cable and just tie it up and get it out there. You know. There's usually a little bit of jankiness, or you can see the budget is lower.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have the same feel, doesn't have the same look. I think that's appealing a lot of times to me personally. Like the East game that I'm playing on my Vita right now is very double A-ish, you know. Sure. But like I enjoy it. You know, I'm not. It doesn't bother me. Whereas some people might look at it and go like, "That looks like crap."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I don't see things that way.
Right. Same.
I think you can like miss a lot of great games, a lot of fun games.
Yeah.
If that's.
I mean, Undertale looks like crap, but it's one of the highest revenue indie games ever.
Yeah. I mean, not just game sales, but merch and all kinds of things.
Right.
So investors and publishers are now being more cautious with what they fund and don't fund. Craig, the CEO, says that publishers are either interested in really big games that cost tens of millions to develop, or those that only cost a few $100,000. He says the larger industry trend of layoffs and hard times continues, not just for big publishers and their first-party studios, but also for mid-sized and indie studios. What could be the cause of this conundrum? Perhaps in the industry's overall push for live service games, oh no, I'm sorry, this is something I wrote.
Oh.
Craig didn't write this.
Okay, real quick though, Craig just confirmed what we were saying.
Exactly.
Like
he literally says, like,
they either want $1 million games or they want, small indie games.
Yeah, something I didn't include here in our notes was that Craig. Oh gosh, what was I about to say? Craig says they had publishers, so they signed with a publisher a year or two ago, right? For this game, who then pulled out last summer. Mm-hmm. He says that originally they were talking to like 3 publishers who all wanted to fund the game, but they went with one over the other 2 for, I'm sure, many reasons.
Yeah.
And so they actually went back to the previous 2 who were also interested.
And didn't want them.
And they said, no, we're not interested anymore.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, on one hand, I can't blame them. Like, oh, what? We want your sloppy seconds now? Now you need us?
Yeah, well, I don't think businesses have those kind of grudges like that. That's pretty, like, infantile.
Petty? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But maybe that money had already been spent on another game.
Sure. Or just the landscape changed in that time.
So, sorry, I wrote this little piece at the end, kind of on my thoughts about maybe a reason for this shift away from AA, apart from what I spoke about earlier. Mm-hmm. We have the big publishers, right? They're all making live service games.
Yes.
And so when you have players all playing live service games, which involve like, a daily or weekly kind of commitment to like play the game, that eats up more of the overall like game time people have. So they're playing just as much time as they normally would, but they're playing less and less games.
Yeah.
So like players are only playing, like for example me, I play a lot of Genshin Impact, right?
Right.
So if I wasn't playing Genshin Impact, I would have more time for other games, but because I'm giving Genshin Impact so much of my game time, I play less games overall than I did previously. Now if you're someone on a budget trying to save money, then sure, maybe that's a good thing to play, just one game instead of constantly.
A game that's technically free to play.
Yeah, that you could technically wholly, completely, never spend a dime on.
Right. And
still have a great time with it. So maybe in this push for live service, players have just less and less time to devote to these smaller $30 games, $20 games.
Okay, yeah, and that's why the small indie games still work.
Right, because you can fit those in to your playtime.
Right.
But you can't fit these like 40-hour, AA games in there.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I didn't actually think of that.
I think that's a consequence
of live service.
Yeah, of live service. And I think it's sad to see that might be the thing that's killing like AA games.
Yeah. God, I hate live service even more now.
I mean, it's sad. I'm someone who can enjoy live service games and AA games, but I will admit I do play significantly less games than I did, I mean, I don't know, it's weird because like when I played World of Warcraft, which is like the definition of a live service game. I played back in 2008 to like 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, sorry, not 2008. I played from like 2004 to 2012.
I remember. I was there.
That was all I played.
Yeah.
But then when I started pulling out of the game and I stopped playing as much and then I eventually quit altogether, it was like oh my god, I have been missing out on so many
life,
games.
yeah.
Well, I mean life. But if we're just talking games,
Yeah.
I've been missing out on so many like great games. Like I had been ignoring a lot of DS stuff, a lot of PS3 stuff. Even PS2 and GameCube, I had kind of put by the wayside for a little while I was just focused on
just World of Warcraft.
Just World of Warcraft. That was my world.
Running around.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish I could go back.
Yeah. Really?
I wish I could go back to yeah.
Well, they did release World of Warcraft Classic.
See, the thing is though, true original World of Warcraft vanilla, as the players refer to it as, it wasn't just a game, it was a time, and it was like a mental space that players were in. You can never get players back to that mental state when the game was like new, when everyone was experiencing a new game all together at once.
Yeah.
Because now a bunch of people who were really into WoW 15 years ago or whatever all come back and start playing Classic again.
Yeah.
They're going to be with the mentality of today and the gamer they are now, and the person who already knows everything about.
Right. And like a full knowledge of.
So like to me, when WoW Classic came out, there was like a little part of me that was like, I'm ready to build a PC again and play this.
Yeah.
But I refrained because I was just like, it's as like amazing as it would be, it would probably be really fun for like a week, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, like the way that player attitude is just not going to be correct. It's not going to be the same. It's just not going to feel right, So I resisted. So for me, the only way it could go work is if I could somehow go back in time and wipe my brain of like any memory of it. Like that would be like the optimal way for me to experience the game again. It's like with Danganronpa. I wish I could wipe my brain.
Any kind of game that has like some, I don't know, like Danganronpa.
Yeah.
Where once you know how it ends, that's it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I want to replay it on PS4 because they did re-release it for PS4. But like, it just won't be the same. The twists and
Decadence came out on Switch.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a board game side game. It's not like a new story.
It includes that,
right?
But it also has the first 3 games.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah.
Anyways, let's get back to the story here.
Yeah.
Those were your thoughts. Okay, so that's the whole story. So, there's multiple facets going on here. On one hand, we're talking about just the disappearance and lack of appetite for AA games, or mid-tier size games as they call them. And this is alarming to me and sad, and I really don't like to see this.
Yeah, they effectively went from AA to indie in one day.
Yeah.
Now there's only 9 people, and they're self-funding.
Yeah, they literally cut themselves like into a third
of what they were,
and
less than a third technically.
Started making a game, and I love the numbers that he gives. He says they're either looking for a game that's tens of millions or a game that's a few $100,000.
I mean, Seraphim would qualify for that few $100,000 game.
It would, even though I haven't spent a dime.
But I mean, like let's say an investor were to give you
the complete version of Seraphim. Yeah, it would look like a game that cost like $200 or $200,000.
Right. So like, let's say someone gives you $200,000. That means you can quit work.
Yeah. For
the next 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And literally just night and day that game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the dream.
Right.
I gotta make a game before I can even ask for that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is that you're unproven.
Right. And I'm not even, from my own standards, I don't even technically qualify as a game developer. From my own standards.
Until you've
released a game.
I see. Okay.
But, right now, what I have is basically nothing. You know, at the end of the day, there is no product.
Right. I mean, yeah, especially right now because the game is like, on the operating table.
Right. I mean, I could push a demo and then maybe say, yeah, I've released a
Here's
public
a proof
demo.
of concept.
Yeah. That is proving yourself.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, there's that kind of dichotomy that he really puts into terms that are easy to understand and see how the big picture of what's going on here. Then, there's also, at the end of the day, this is a layoff story.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't really talked about that much. I think that, we talk about layoffs in like probably more than half our episodes, but this one's unique.
It is. This is not like they're the bad guy kind of layoff story.
Right. Obviously, the CEO here, Craig, he's coming from a very different place,
than your average.
Than your EA CEO.
Yeah.
And I think this genuinely saddens him because he probably founded this company, and this was his game and his baby, and he's cutting arms off.
I mean, a publisher pulled out.
Yeah.
What is he supposed to do? Sell his house?
He has to go into hiatus and figure it out.
Yeah.
And then come back.
But it as unfortunate as it is, and I'm sure as hard as it was, for the affected employees,
mm-hmm.
It's out of his control. I mean, last summer they lost their publisher.
Yeah.
Which means that for like almost a year.
We don't have names, right? Just
no. Okay. For the last year, they've been looking for a new publisher.
Yeah.
So that means they have been spending as much time as they can trying to find someone. And the situation is this dire that they couldn't find a single person.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically had to like roast themselves online.
Yeah.
And say, that's it. We can't do this anymore. Here's our demo. So the people who've been working on it can refer to it.
Right.
When they're looking for other work.
So the demo drop was, this didn't even occur to me, but the demo drop was probably a big posterity. Like, this is what we have.
Right. This is what all these people have done.
Being released.
The last year or two.
This is how we're going to release our work.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the layoffs again, this isn't for shareholders.
Because there would be some studios who, as soon as that publisher pulled out last summer, he would have let everyone go.
100%. 100%. 1,000%.
But Craig, 9, 8, almost 11, 12 months, has been trying to find someone and trying to make his team last as long as he possibly could, but they were out of options. Being
in this situation, too, especially being like a game designer, if I assume he's the CEO of a team of 30, I'm going to guess he's probably the game designer or the director.
He's probably, yeah. I doubt they have space for a suit that just sits there all day.
Right. He is probably investing in making all kinds of personal sacrifices behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. Probably maxing out credit cards in his name.
Yeah.
Probably taking lines of credit and bank loans and stuff. Just trying to stay afloat for another week.
Yeah.
While they still holding out hope that they'll find a publisher. Yeah. And that's just sad, because then when you do pack up and leave, now you have all these personal responsibilities that you made in sacrifice to try to survive.
Right.
With your
game. Hopefully this appeal to publishers, hopefully, what's this name? What's the name of the game again?
Ironmarked, yeah.
Finds a home with a publisher or some kind of private funder, and maybe it happens soon enough that people can come back to work.
We didn't mention... Oh, continue, sorry.
Yeah.
Finish
because that's basically what the release of this demo ultimately is. It's an appeal for someone
to pick up
the game, so that they can get people working again.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, some of these people are going to find other jobs in the meantime.
He didn't say the game's canceled, or did he?
No, he just says that they put production on hold.
That's hiatus.
Yeah. And he says the reason it's on Steam is so people can wish list it.
Mm-hmm.
If people wish list it, they can show that hard number to publishers. Like, hey, look, people are wish listing it. They're interested in the game.
Yeah.
Reviews of the demo are good. Help us get this over the finish line.
Yeah. It relying on a publisher has to suck.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, they had their previous game, Gloomhaven.
Yeah, so I was going to bring up real quick that this is not their first game.
No.
They have at least two games prior, Gloomhaven and Fable Fortune.
I'd never heard of Fable Fortune, but I had heard of Gloomhaven before. Right. I can't say I know too much about it. Part of me wants to say it was like a PS Plus game some time ago.
But what makes that kind of interesting is that this is a proven developer.
Yeah.
This is someone working on their third game.
They put 2 games to market.
They shouldn't really have this much trouble getting funding, I feel like.
My guess is these games sold well enough, but not like, set the charts on fire, make us millions and millions of dollars and super rich. And, they don't have a big reserve. Or maybe they did have a reserve and they used it all these last 9 months while he was trying to find another publisher.
Right.
And so, maybe instead of taking out all his personal lines of credit and stuff, he burnt the war chest trying to keep, the studio afloat.
Right.
And now they're at the point where they have a small sum left and they're like, okay, we can use this to try to make something smaller that we can self-publish and self-fund.
It's sad. I don't think it's impossible for like crowdfunding or something to happen with something like this, especially since they have a demo and if people really like it, or if enough people like it, they probably could pull something together. It won't be the 5 million, I'm sure.
I don't know that crowdfunding. Oh yeah, no, it won't be. Yeah. There's only a couple games that have ever crossed into millions of dollar territory.
Right.
And I don't know that any of them have really gone that high.
No.
And because usually these games that get crowdfunded, that crowdfunding number then gets shopped around to publishers or other third-party funders. And someone else goes, wow, if there's that many people willing to put up $5 million now, then we can match that and give you another $5 million,
Right.
Very... Very rarely is a Kickstarter game, unless it's super, super indie. But if a Kickstarter game has any significant number of team members, like, 10, 20, 30, 40 people making the game, there's no way the $1 million it raises on Kickstarter is enough.
Yeah, right.
That's just, it's like Steam wishlist. It's used to show investors that there's interest in this kind of a game.
Right.
And it's probably a lot stronger than a Steam wishlist. It's probably a lot easier.
People are already putting their money on it.
Yeah, if you have a wildly successful Kickstarter, you're going to find more money from other investors.
That makes sense. All right. Oh, sad. Sad about the layoffs and sad about their game.
Yeah, hopefully Flaming Fowl can... find someone soon.
Right.
Maybe rehire some of those people they had to let go.
I'm sure they still have their numbers.
I'm sure it was probably like it wasn't like a mad, like no one was mad that day.
Yeah,
it was probably just like mega bummer.
Yeah, I mean when you're working for a studio like that, you know the risks.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, we can move on if you're ready.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Waiting for you to start
That's me. Okay, sorry. So, we have one last story. Now, this story is probably not like some riveting news kind of event that happened or anything like that, but it's interesting. One thing that interests me a lot is reading about and researching the gaming scene in different countries and different cultures and stuff like that. I have a lot of articles I want to write for the website concerning those.
Oh, we spoke about
not
that.
happening, not on my plate right now.
Okay.
But anyway, so this is kind of like this is in line with that. So in Germany there is an award show. It's called der Deutsche Computerspielpreis, which is or DCP, which is Germany's primary game award. Like it's their premier, their biggest thing that they have. We have the Game Awards over here.
Sure. I mean, yeah, we have a few different.
Yeah, we do.
DICE and GDC awards. Yeah.
But it's known internationally as the German Computer Game Awards. And what is unique about this award show is that it's entirely sponsored by their federal government. So while, the award show is giving their awards, which are it's called the Golden Joystick Award, which is, basically just the trophy that they hand out. The government side of things also awards endowments.
Okay.
And I'm going to get into that a little bit too here. So last year, just to kind of give you multiple examples here, in 2023. I should also mention that this just happened. This year's award show happened on April 18th.
Okay, so just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Last year, a game won. They give 2 awards. So best German game, best international game.
Okay.
I think that's it, because all the German websites I went to just show those 2 winners. They don't show anything else. But last year went to a game called Chained Echoes, which is a solo development by Matthias Linda. It's like a retro RPG.
Okay, I've heard of Chained
Looks
Echoes.
really fresh.
Yeah.
I would play that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was made by one guy over 7 years.
Wow.
So, and then this year, the best German game award went to Everspace 2, which the Everspace games are like third-person space shooter RPGs, basically.
Okay.
Which I like. Also looks fresh. I would play that in a heartbeat.
Fresh.
Fresh.
Definitely this time.
I mean, how else do you describe gameplay? I haven't played a good third-person space shooter in a long time. And I haven't seen one in a long time.
I've seen the Everspace games.
Yeah.
They look good.
Good. They look great.
And they're like very high-end looking too. Visually super impressive.
Yeah, when you're moving around like
asteroids and stuff.
And like space structures and stuff, you're actually like going through interiors and stuff. It's crazy. So that is Rockfish, I think is what they're called.
That sounds right.
Rockfish Games. And they're in they're in Hamburg is where they're based. Last year Chained Echoes and this year Everspace 2, they both received the Golden Joy-Con or Golden Joystick. Wow. Big Freudian slip on that.
Someone's showing their Nintendo.
Yeah, for real. Fanboyism. They received the award, and they received a €100,000 endowment from the. Let me get the actual. It is the Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the specific government agency.
They're the one that helps the game get made.
Exactly. Germany. So this award show has been going on since 2009. Takes place in Munich.
So this is the Golden Joysticks?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I've heard of those awards before. I knew it was somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was.
Yeah. I'm gonna get to the part where I talk about another game. Okay. But I saw a picture of him holding like his golden joystick. So yeah, it is.
Nice.
Germany. So the award show started in 2009, but in 2020 is when they started giving these endowments. Okay. So it's only been a few years.
Okay.
But it's they started giving them out to quote achieve international competitiveness in game development.
Okay, so only the German game gets this money, right?
Correct. That's correct. Okay. So the award this year for best international game went to Baldur's Gate 3.
Yep.
And which is
that award went to like they got every game
award from every country probably. Larian Studios is a Belgian company, which is not far from borders Germany.
Do you remember at the Game Awards we saw that guy in the lobby dressed like a knight walking around?
Yeah. That's him.
That's Sven Vick, the
Yes.
the CEO of
So,
Larian.
I saw a picture of Sven Vick holding his golden joystick, smiling.
Yeah.
So, so Larian Studios didn't get a cash prize.
No.
So they just straight up they're not going to give them taxpayer money for like, we love the game.
It doesn't make sense. You get this cool trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Now go back to Belgium.
Not that Larian needs it. They're doing just fine off of Baldur's Gate 3 sales. And
well, it's interesting. Baldur's Gate 3 is a Wizards of the Coast. Mm-hmm. It's a Dungeons and Dragons property.
Well, it's tied into Forgotten Realms, which is tied into Dungeons and Dragons.
Right. So Wizards of the Coast owns that. So they were basically making a game for Wizards of the Coast. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure they got all kinds of bonuses and stuff for the success of Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But like, it's not like it's their IP that they
No, that's correct. Larian does not own Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate belongs to the Forgotten Realms series, which belongs to the Dungeons and Dragons property.
Yep.
And actually, I'm going to get to that. That's relevant. So the purpose of these federal grants are to encourage and incentivize more competitive game development among German studios. Michael Kellner, the parliamentary state secretary at Germany's Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action, said he wants to ensure that German studios produce games like Baldur's Gate 3 in the future. Huh. He made that statement, saying that we want this.
This is a game that everyone loves. Yeah. We need one of those.
Pretty.
Sounds like someone who's never played a game before.
Never seen this before. But yeah, what do you expect from a politician?
Yeah,
but he has power.
That's true.
So that's
I just
important.
don't know that giving $100,000 to the guy that made a space game is gonna
look. Okay, maybe that's true about Rockfish, but Matthias Linda, solo dev, he needed that money.
Oh, that $100,000 was
he
huge.
Deserved that, every penny of that. And he did. Yeah, his game is really cool. So. I'm going to read his full statement, Michael Kellner, this politician. He said, "The wide range and creativity of games developed in Germany, demonstrated at this year's German Computer Game Award, must be expanded further, and the potential of the industry must be utilized even more. As the federal government, we want to make an important contribution to this through our new games funding. The funding is to help ensure that games such as this year's best international game also go on to be developed in Germany." So, nice statement for a politician. Like, that's pretty good. Now, Felix Falk, who is the managing director of the German Games Industry Association,
or GGIA,
right? I don't know if that is the organization that hosts this award program, or if they're like more like the ESA, or what is it that we have?
Maybe they're like the ESA.
He said this: "Once again, we can see the huge potential of Germany as a location for the games industry, especially as this year there were more games made possible by federal funding than ever before." So
I wonder if they're giving out like smaller grants throughout the year.
I think this is just one way that they give grants,
right.
But I think they are giving grants to probably not even just games, but probably tech.
It's interesting how some countries seem to like invest more in smaller industries, maybe for their country, than other ones do. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like I don't hear. You're probably going to correct me, but I feel like I don't really hear much about like the U.S. government investing in like games.
Yeah, we can discuss that.
Yeah.
I have one last point to make here. So Kellner obviously means with his statement that he wants to see German game projects rival the success and quality of Baldur's Gate 3. And this is something like a little tidbit that's kind of food for thought that occurred to me when I was doing research for this. Larian Studios has announced that they're quitting making D&D games.
Right.
That, like, they did Baldur's Gate 3. They're done with that.
Yeah.
So, technically, a German studio could make the next Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, no doubt Wizards of the Coast is going to be looking for a new partner to make Baldur's Gate 4.
Yeah.
Because now the Baldur's Gate brand has had this, like, huge invigoration into it, you know?
Right.
And they are going to want to get a sequel out sooner rather than later. So they're going to need to find a new development partner ASAP.
Right.
But, I mean, good luck finding someone who's going to put out a similar caliber game, having never...
Right. Well, I mean, the two... I know it's only a sample size of two, but the two developers that we just talked about...
Oh, I see what you're saying.
They're both obviously really talented based on the quality of their games. I was looking at gameplay and couldn't help smile at both games. So Germany has talent. They have, you know...
I've watched that show before.
Germany's Got Talent.
Yeah.
I wasn't going that way with it, but you get what I'm saying. Like they have developers.
Dude, you should show up to Germany's Got Talent with like your computer and be like, "This is the game I made."
Yeah, right. That's cool
Play
performance.
a trailer.
Cool performance. But no, German developers.
Yeah.
They.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe this is their chance to swoop in. I've been hearing people talking about this online, like this topic of, okay, Larian isn't making Baldur's Gate 4.
Right.
So who do they go after? Some people were like, oh, they should get BioWare since they made Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
Yeah, that would be probably the next best.
Yeah, but at the same time, does EA want to do work for Wizards of the Coast? I mean, probably not.
No.
And I mean,
wouldn't be the most cost-effective
BioWare
option.
moved on from Baldur's Gate and created Dragon Age, so that way they had their own IP.
That's true. Yeah, knowing that, they probably wouldn't.
It's like, why would we work on someone else's IP for less money than we could make, like, on our own IP, you know? And then we have ownership over it,
right?
You know?
And everything that we would put into Baldur's Gate would work for Dragon Age.
Yeah, effectively. Yeah.
So
so I don't know who they find.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like maybe this Chained Echoes guy, right? I mean, he made a very different looking game than Baldur's Gate 3. Not to say that he can't have the ambition to do something like a Baldur's Gate 3.
Sure, yeah. I'm not nominating him.
Right.
His game is a top-down 2D, JRPG.
He would need a team behind him.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
But, you have other, I mean, Rockfish might be, I don't know what Germany's, like, ecosystem looks like with game studios, but Rockfish might be on the higher side of size-wise, I don't know if, I mean, Everspace looks like a big game and looks really good, but
I think it's a mid-size game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might have the capacity to pull off something like that, but they would need to be well-funded.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Wizards of the Coast has money.
Yeah, they do. Oh,
but,
they do.
So...
yeah, I mean, but does Rockfish have the experience with a game like Baldur's Gate?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a complex, rule-based RPG with dice.
Yeah.
That's challenging.
But, I mean, hey, the government's giving out grants for German studios to incentivize them.
Does Rockfish just get to do whatever they want with their $100,000?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if they have to or what, but it's implied that they're going to use it on game development.
Right.
I don't
just
know.
Throw a big party.
$100,000 with, like, strippers and stuff.
Taxpayer dollar.
But we were going to talk about something else.
I wanted to ask, what do you know about many other countries like offering taxpayer dollars to like fund games industry projects?
Yeah, okay, so let's start with the US.
Okay.
I do believe there are federal art grants.
Okay.
It's not like this. I know that for sure. But you do have other more private organizations that offer endowments and grants and stuff.
Definitely.
A lot of nonprofits do that. I know Digra has an endowment. Here's the thing about that. Because I've looked into this greatly. Well, I want to finish my lists and stuff someday, but I looked into, award shows around the world and endowments and competitive grants in the U.S. for myself. Digra offers something like that, but anytime you see this, it's like for the arts, and games qualify for it, but
you're competing with everyone else doing it.
It's never specifically for games. Okay. Almost never.
Yeah.
Maybe someone now offers that.
Right.
It was a few years ago that I looked, and I could see some organizations that are focused on games, nonprofits, like, what is it? The Games Preservation, what's it called? That organization. I donate to them.
Oh, whenever you're on limited run, you hit the little donated.
No. When I worked for my last employer, I had the option to have some of my paycheck go to any charity.
Would they match it or something?
That I don't remember.
Okay.
But I did have like $5 every paycheck.
Okay. Going. Yeah, there's like the VGFH or something like that. Yeah, something like that.
I could see a charity like that maybe offering an endowment today. Okay. That's specific for games or indies or something.
I mean,
like
I feel, if I had to guess, a lot of these, there's only really a couple major like video game preservation groups out there that are like serious and like have like employees and stuff.
Right.
I would imagine they're probably operating on pretty razor thin margins.
Yeah.
Themselves.
Well, they're operating on donations.
Yeah.
I would imagine they probably get some. They probably get some donations.
Yeah, it's cool. Not to get too off topic, but like I've been seeing stuff I follow some of them on like Twitter and places like that. And like you hear about them getting like some guy in his 60s, 70s who worked at XYZ company, like donating like all their boxes of stuff that they like left the office with, like all the documents. That's and like crazy. They're unearthing like really cool stuff.
Yeah, they get donations monetarily, and they get donations with actual stuff.
They need that, otherwise there's no point in giving them money.
Right. Well, they could use the money to buy the stuff.
That's true.
But getting back to it, like, here's the thing with organizations like Digra and stuff that are focused on like the arts. This might be opinionated of me, but when I look at the winners of those endowments, it doesn't seem to me to be over game development merit. Okay. It seems to really kind of be about socio-political messaging in games. You see a lot of like walking sims getting that stuff.
Yeah. It's like, this is a game about suicide or something like that.
But sniffing pugs would be like the kind of game.
So it's the like how weird is your game and how artsy fartsy is it?
Exactly.
And then you'll win.
And I'm not saying that it shouldn't exist.
Sure.
But can we get some endowments and grants for like serious
games for fun?
Like, game development merit. Right. Like, this is a talented developer who we should be investing in, kind of thing.
Okay.
A
lot of those, like, really, like, those indie games that get attention at festivals, they're, like, the most, they're impractical.
Yeah.
Like,
as a commercial product.
How do you play this? How does anyone get to experience it? Like, the setup you have to have to do it is like really weird.
They'll use like weird objects as part of the control scheme for the game.
Like I told you when I went to the Game Awards, they're
like science projects.
That indie thing that happened after the Game Awards, Day of the Devs.
Oh, yeah.
I played that one game where you use like a toilet paper roll with a Joy-Con.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, that one's easy. Everyone has a toilet paper roll in their house.
Right. I mean, but that kind of direction of stuff where is it a commercially viable product?
Yeah. There's questions to be asked about that.
And I'm not saying that's bad, and I'm not saying that shouldn't exist.
It's not everything needs to be a commercial
Absolutely
project.
Should exist.
Yeah.
But and that's fine that there are endowments for that.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. Can we get some over
for,
here
for everyone else?
for the serious, like,
the people just making games, that everyone can play.
Right, the people investing talent into 3D modeling and hardcore 3D animation, really trying to push the limits.
Maybe it's like maybe they see like something that's ultimately a commercial project, like designed to ultimately make that creator money.
Yeah,
is like not like
it's like
noble and artistic.
It's almost they see it as like this person's gonna profit off their product.
Yeah.
See,
whereas like no one's gonna make money off butt sniffing pugs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I need to look into that game.
Yeah, whatever happened to it.
I want to know more about it. But so.
And we're not crapping on butt sniffing.
No,
pugs,
we're not. We're really not. And
because I was enamored by butt sniffing pugs when I saw it at Indiecade at E3 years ago.
I don't know that. I don't remember you being enamored. You were like, this thing's weird. This thing's weird.
I was like taken by it.
Yeah, sure. Okay,
I was like,
you were impressed by it.
I was like, what is going on?
Right.
What is this?
What is this thing?
Like, I could not take my eyes off of it.
Yeah, I saw like that same event. There was one game. It was built in Unity, and there was the game part of it on the screen, and then there was a flip book that had like electronics and stuff with USB.
Okay.
Where every time you turn the page and like the pop-up book stuff would come up, like stuff in the game changed.
Okay.
And stuff. Science projects. They're science projects, that involve game development, which is cool. Like that's absolutely cool.
Yeah.
But I think Germany has it figured out with how to invest in like serious. We want to be a player.
Yeah.
In the games industry.
And that $100,000, it's a lot, but it's not enough.
It's taxpayer money.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna turn it. At the end of the day, it's an award show.
It's a very nice gesture, and welcome.
If you win at the Game Awards, you get a trophy.
Yeah.
If you win there, you get a trophy plus 100,000 euro.
Jeff ain't giving money
No,
away.
No, he's not. He's making plenty.
Yeah.
Off all those world premieres.
Yeah.
So I don't know about other countries really. This is actually my introduction to how Germany works with their endowments and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if other countries do have stuff going on like this.
Right.
But yeah, over here, U.S. and Canada, probably it seems to be more artsy fartsy, not serious. Like we're trying to improve the games industry or move it in some direction.
Yeah, they're just making like art projects.
Yeah, basically. And transmission.